What's up, Hardies and Hardos? Back at it again with another fancy special, our fourth one. We love doing this. Can't look forward to doing this
No, we
weekly.
actually hate it, honestly.
You
It's
hate
the
it
worst
because
part
you
of
suck
my
at
week.
fantasy, but
Oh, even though I'm better than you, or what?
nice. I am struggling this year in a couple
Yeah,
of leagues.
you are awful overall, yeah.
It's been very depressing, to say the least. Very depressing. 0-5 in 2 leagues, 1-4 in my big money league. Yeah, it's not good. So we might as well start with some duds right away. Speaking of how bad my team is.
I was going to say, you got plenty of those from your team.
Yeah, and so I might as well start with one from my team, one of my teams at least, and that's James Robinson, projected 12.67 against the Texans. Texans actually have a pretty solid rush defense this year, surprisingly, again, at least fantasy points wise. But still expected him to get some valuable touches and probably even a touchdown. I expected at least one touchdown from him this game. He scored 4.9 points, only had 10 carries for 27 yards, had 2 catches for 12 yards. Projected 12.67, scored 4.9. Terrible. The bad news here with James Robinson, unless if you're an owner who has both of them, this is okay with you then. He only played 40% of snaps, and ETN played 53. And so that's kind of been the trend the last 2 weeks. So maybe ETN is starting to be more of the feature back. I don't know. This backfield's a mess. So if you have one of them, you better have both of them. It's essentially what I'm getting.
Otherwise, you're out of luck. My dud is going to be a QB22, a guy that I've mentioned before in this category, but he has literally just been awful all season fantasy-wise, and that's a quarterback I think was taken among the first 10 to 12 quarterbacks, and that's Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford has been awful. He scored 9.32 again this week. 28 for 42, 308 pick and an interception. So decent yards, nothing crazy, but just not getting that touchdown production that he got last year. So awful looks for Matt Stafford again this week.
Awful looks for the Rams offense in general, besides Cooper Kupp.
Except Cooper Kupp. Yep.
Yeah. I was talking to one of my buddies today about Cooper Kupp. It's just insane that he's still able to do what he does. Like, especially this year with how ass everyone else has been on that offense. You literally know who's getting the ball, and you still can't stop him. So
it's just
Cooper Kupp's crazy. My other dud this week, A.J. Dillon projected 11.3 and only scored 3.4. He actually only got 6 carries this week. He's up till this point basically out-carried Jones in most games. Jones just featured more in the red zone as well as the passing game, but only 6 carries, 34 yards for A.J. Dillon. 0 targets against the Giants. I definitely expected a better performance from him and the Packers offense as a whole, given that they took an L to the Giants, even though we do like that as Vikings fans, obviously. Another concerning thing here, though, with just like Robinson, 32% snap last week for A.J. Dillon compared to 73% for Aaron Jones. So looks like he might be turning into more of a handcuff option than a playable option. So that's kind of depressing. I know a lot of people have A.J. Dillon likely as their RB2 or RB3. So that's something to watch going forward.
Yeah, that definitely is. I'm going to go to a guy who is tight end 3, actually, but essentially has had one good week, one medium week, and 3 awful weeks this season, and that is T.J. Hockenson. T.J. Hockenson, tight end 3. He had one 35-point week. In the other 4 weeks combined, he scored 19 points. So, scored 16 more points in 1 week than the other 4 weeks combined. Tight end 3. So, that is tough look for the tight end position this year. But Hockenson, I don't know. It'll be interesting. They're on a bye this week, so he'll have a week off. But after that, they have Dallas, Miami, Green Bay. 2 of those 3 should have fairly decent tight end production. So we'll see if the Lions offense that came out against the Patriots is more real than the first 4 weeks, or if the first 4 weeks are more real. So we'll just have to see what that's like going forward. But T.J. Hockenson definitely had a dud week.
People, if you own him, you should have been trying to ship him out after that big game, to be honest. Moving on to studs. Another tight end here, Travis Kelce. This is an obvious one. Oh, my gosh. 4 freaking touchdowns? Are you kidding me? Was that the tight end record, Spinny? I saw that it was like some sort of record. I didn't actually read it, though. So I didn't know what
I don't
record I was
know.
talking about.
I didn't have the record down for you this time. Sorry.
But I mean, wow, 7 catches, somehow only 25 yards, but just touchdown machine. That one, I think it was his 3rd touchdown, just plowing dudes over on his way into the end zone. I mean, we know this with Travis Kelce. The dude is a monster. But 4 touchdowns, that's even a little incredible. Projected 14.8, and he scored 30. So doubled his projection. The funny thing is, though, if you bet over on his yards, because he was projected like 73 and a half or something as his yards, you bet over on his yards and you see him just absolutely dominating, but he only gets 20 and you actually lose your bet, even though he has 4 touchdowns.
Look.
That is tough. But yeah, either way, Travis Kelce definitely won some fantasy managers their games last night. That's for sure.
Definitely. My first stud was Travis Kelce again, because I feel like we have to talk about how unbelievable this guy is at the tight end position. 7 touchdowns so far in 5 weeks. So this man is going to score at least 15 touchdowns this year, which is absolutely crazy. He has been targeted at least 8 times every single week. And other than his one single digit 7.6 in week 2, he's scored at least 16 points in half PPR every week. So absolutely insane from him, and plays right around 80 to 90% of the snaps. So you just know this is going to continue. It's such a big upgrade over anyone else in the NFL at that position other than Mark Andrews. And it deserved 2 talking about with 4 touchdowns.
Literally a WR1 just sitting there in your tight end spot. Dude is a freak. Someone asked me today in one of my leagues that I have him, asking price for Kelce. And I was like, are you serious? Like, he's not tradable. Like, that's,
yeah, like
come on.
Like you losing the deal. That's the asking price.
Yeah, literally.
You obviously losing
the deal. Why don't you give me your RB1, your WR1, plus your tight end 2, and then maybe we'll start talking.
Then we'll talk, yeah.
My other stud guy, I have Kelce and Jacobs in one of my leagues, so I was loving it last night. So I got shout out Jacobs. 2 weeks in a row, he broke his personal best yardage. So that's interesting. He's been on a tear recently. 13.61 he was projecting. He scored 27.8. He had 21 carries for 154 yards and a touchdown. I was a little worried because I thought maybe the Chiefs would get up early in this game and that would limit Jacobs' production. But as we saw, that wasn't the case. He got plenty of touches. 21 carries is a lot for him. And an interesting note, he had 5 catches, 39 yards. 3rd straight game with 5 catches. So he's starting to be featured in that respect as well. So this guy he's trending up everywhere, and he's actually RB4 heading into his bye week this week. And I would not have expected that from Josh Jacobs coming into this season. But
we're back in the Josh McDaniels offense, really using your running backs, and he's produced with all his touches. Right. We're going to go homer pick for my last stud, and that's Justin Jefferson. I feel like there was some hate post 2.9 against the Lions, and everybody talking crap like this man hasn't done it for 2 seasons in a row. So this man just had to show you against Marshawn Lattimore, just absolutely dogged him, scored 26 balls on his head, and then backed it up with another 24-point week this week. Last week, 10 catches, 147. This week, 12 catches, 154. He also had a rushing touchdown against the Saints. Absolutely been balling on people's heads, on Marshawn Lattimore.
Yes, sir. And on your head, Marshawn.
I just had to shout him out because he's been balling. WR3 right now.
We love the homer picks.
7th overall.
WR3 in fantasy, but come on. We know he's WR1 or 2 in real life.
Yes,
this is the man, Justin Jefferson. Oh, love him so much. Well, that was it for Duds and Studs, right, Spinny? Should move on to waivers. Some interesting waiver guys this week, I must say. First one being Taysom Hill, only owned in 24% of leagues. As you guys all know with Taysom Hill, he runs, he throws, he catches. He could be listed as 3 different positions, essentially. He's listed as a tight end, which helps your case, given how weak tight ends are. There's reports coming out that he will continue to be involved in the run game, which is great to see. They do love giving it to him in the red zone as well. And anytime that Thomas and Landry are hurt, Thomas is rumored to be back for week 6 here. Landry's probably still out. he's obviously going to get more routes as well. So this is definitely a guy to look into, especially if you have a terrible tight end, which most of us do. He is actually tight end 7 right now as well. So he is technically a tight end 1 in fantasy already.
Yes, sir. Taysom Hill, that's good. I'm going to go with another tight end that's available in 38% of leagues, and that's Hayden Hurst. He is the 11th overall tight end, double digits 2 weeks in a row. After T. Higgins went out last night, he got 5 targets in the second half of that game, and he played 81% of the snaps. So with T. Higgins looking to be out at least for a couple weeks, look for Hayden Hurst to get a ton of extra targets. And then, like we've been saying all episode, it's tight end purgatory out here right now. So you're looking for anyone you can find to get 5 to 8 points out of, and I think Hayden Hurst is definitely a guy that could do that.
I agree. I like that one. I'm jumping to a quarterback now. Obvious one, Geno Smith. He's been on an absolute tear this year. No one expected that. Owned in 39% of leagues. He is QB6 right now. Almost a top 5 quarterback heading into week 6. He scored 31.7 and 24 in the last 2 weeks, including last week, 24 fantasy points on the road against a good defense in the Saints. So he's been absolutely balling, and he's actually went over on his projections 4 out of his 5 games. So this is a guy that's at least returning his value. And the schedule coming up is favorable, I must say. The defenses are either mediocre at best or bad until they get to the Bucs game, which is not for like 4 weeks. So favorable schedule, been balling as of late. I think this is a guy to pick up, especially if you drafted like a Russell Wilson or something as your starting quarterback. Then why not pick up Geno? Because we all know Russell Wilson's been an ass. So
agreed. I like that one. For my last waiver, I'm going to go back again to the tight end position. A guy that played 94% of the snaps and got 10 targets last week.
Who is this?
Cade Otton, tight end for the Bucs.
94%?
94% of the snaps. He's played at least 48% of the snaps every week this year. And in week 1 and 2, he only had 2 targets combined, and then was hurt in week 3. After he came back in week 4, they started getting him in the passing game more. 4 targets last week, 7 targets this week. Has gone up every single time. He had 6 catches for 43 yards. So again, he only had 7.3 points this week. But if you expect the target share and the playing and the snap play percentage to keep going up or stay where they were like it has been, then he's definitely got some touchdown potential, as well as just, again, 7.3 for a tight end, you'll take it. If you got a guy hurt, if you got Dalton Schultz, or you're looking for something like that, this guy is owned in 4% of leagues. So it started
especially in your deeper leagues, like
in your deeper
leagues.
Yeah, and in your guillotine type leagues as well. This is the type of guy you're looking for a spot start for a week, just to see what's up if your tight end is not useful.
He's a rookie, isn't he?
He's 23. I think that sounds right. Yeah, he is a rookie.
I think he's a rookie. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the only 2 guys ahead of him are 2 old heads.
Yeah. So.
And Rudolph and Brait. So he's going to continue to see the field. I believe that, honestly. Well, our next segment is a new one. We're going to talk sleeper starts. To classify this, we looked for guys started in less than 30% of the leagues. My first guy here is only owned in 20% of leagues, started in 3% of leagues, and that's Alec Pierce, rookie receiver for the Colts. Obviously, this is an offense that has been struggling, but he has produced some semi-decent numbers recently. Not going to lie, 7.6, 10, and 12.1 is his fantasy points in the last 3. And especially as you hit, starting this week is beginning of buys. So you might, going forward, you're going to have to potentially start one of these sleeper guys going forward. So it's always nice to look out for someone like this. He has a favorable matchup, plays the Jags, projected 8 points. He has at least 60 yards receiving in 3 straight games, and is coming off 8 catches, 9 targets for 81 yards, including 59% snap count, which is his career high. So this is a guy that's trending up in usage as well as playing time, and seems to be the WR2 on the Colts. So, if CB1's obviously going to be on Pittman all game. So this is a guy that might get open and target shares there. So Alec Pierce, sleeper start.
I like that one. My sleeper start is only started in 28% of leagues, even though that was up 22% from last week. So we got some more starts out of him. But this week, he plays one of the worst rush defenses in the league. And I know it because I've watched every game of this team. And that is Raheem Mostert starting against the Vikings. Still started in 28% of leagues, owning 69% of leagues. Again, we're going to release this Tuesday night. So for your Wednesday morning waivers, making sure you're getting him on your waiver pickup list because he is going to be picked up if not. And he's projected 10.1 against the Vikings. I have no doubt he'll get that and possibly more. They're going to run it a lot when they're starting Skylar Thompson. So
Thompson.
Yeah, if the backup that started last week is the starter for this week, that's Skylar Thompson. He's 25, and that was his first time he's ever played in an NFL game. So they're going to be running the ball a lot. They're going to be using Hill and Waddle and that short stuff. Scares me a little bit against Minnesota. And I think that most will have a good fantasy day.
Yeah, I agree. I actually wrote him down as well in case you didn't happen to have him. I wanted to shout him out quick at the end, so I agree there. Before I say my second one, I just do want to mention all the guys we said for our waivers would obviously be quality sleeper start guys as well. Like Taysom Hill, he's only starting 5% of guy in leagues. Geno Smith, 18%. All those waiver guys, you could start them as well. My second guy, Rondale Moore, owned in 38% of leagues. Obvious guy here, came back from injury a couple weeks ago. Only started in 4% of leagues. His snap count has been tremendous since he came back from injury, 86% and 91% in his 2 games that he's played. And last game, he had 7 catches on 8 targets for 68 yards. So especially in your deeper leagues and particularly your PPR leagues, this is a guy that you might want to start. He's projected 10 points and has a plus matchup against the Seahawks this week. So Rondale Moore, this might be your last chance to start Rondale Moore. He might, he's obviously more of a handcuff option anyways. But with DeAndre Hopkins coming back next week, this might be your last chance.
Yeah, I like that. My last sleeper start is a guy, again, only owned in 16% of leagues, started into kind of getting this start because of injury, and that's Eno Benjamin, running back for the Cardinals. Connor, Darrell Williams, and Jonathan Ward all left the game with injury last weekend. There's a chance that Connor and Williams both don't play. You'll have to watch that as the week goes on. But if it looks like how it does here on Tuesday night, that both those guys will be out, Eno Benjamin will get a ton of carries, ton of looks in the passing game. Even this week when he only played 54% of the snaps, he had 8 rushes for 25 yards and a touchdown, as well as four targets, 3 receptions for 28 yards. So he's getting targeted in the passing game. He had 12 total touches rushing and receiving last week when he only played 54% of the snaps. So if we're looking more of a 75% of the snaps at least this week, that's definitely 12 to 15 carries, 5 to 8 targets. That's what you're looking for a spot start running back. So I think Eno Benjamin could be good in that role.
Yeah, I like that one. From reports I saw today, there's a chance Connor could play. It seems like Darrell Williams is most likely out. So even if Eno's in that RB2 role with a limited James Conner, I would still maybe roll the dice if you're weak at running back and start Eno Benjamin. One last guy I do want to shout out quick is just Jacoby Myers. This is a guy I said waiver wire, probably I think the very first episode that we have a fantasy focus. And he just came back from injury, scored 20 points last week. In his 3 games this year, he has 8, 14, and then the 20.6 that he had last week. Which was 7 catches, 8 targets, 111 yards, and a touchdown as well. Zappy seems to be able to move the ball just as well as Mac Jones. I'm not going to lie. So that's.
I don't know if you're loving that, Patriots fans.
And I don't really love to say that either, given that Mac Jones is from Bama. But
yeah, it's true. That's probably why he sucks.
But yeah, I mean,
I'm kidding.
I'm not even going to acknowledge that. His other 2 games, 4 catches, 6 targets, 55 yards, 9 catches, 13 targets, 95 yards. So plus matchup against the Browns defense, secondary has been struggling. They're middle of the pack, NFL at best. So plus matchup, target share is insane. And yes, backup quarterback, but seems to move the ball as well as Mac Jones has been doing. So Jacoby Myers only starting 16% of leagues, especially in your PPR leagues. This is a guy you can start.
Yeah, especially when only good, talented receiving person at the Patriots have. So he's twice
Literally
as
the only
talented
one.
as anyone else in the receiving
Yeah.
core. So he's
Absolutely.
getting a ton of targets. Well, there it is. Fantasy Focus. We're back.
Fantasy
We're here.
focus.
Let us know what
Again,
you
drop
think.
comments, please.
Yep.
We're really trying to think of different fantasy segments. So if you guys could help us out of things you want to hear, maybe it's even trades. Like maybe you did a trade, you want us to
Ooh.
grade it or something, anything along those lines. I mean, anything fantasy
Yeah.
related, we'll talk about.
For sure. Hit us up. Be in our DMs. You know how that goes. We love you, Hardies and Hardos. And, man, we're going to have some fun for you released shortly after this fantasy episode. So be ready.
Be on the lookout. All right, y'all. See you next week.